So we all know the drill, right? It's January 1st, or maybe it's just a Monday morning, and we decide this is it. We set these enormous life-altering goals.
Right, you're full of that initial fire, that
Yeah,
motivation.
exactly. But then, a few weeks go by, and poof, the habit is gone, and you're left wondering why.
It happens every time.
It's because we focus entirely on the inspiration, and we completely ignore the fundamental mechanics of how we actually behave.
And that's really the core thesis of our deep dive today. We are pulling out the most actionable ideas from James Clear's, his pivotal work, Atomic Habits. Specifically, we've gone through the audiobook version, which is just fantastic, and synthesized the key framework.
So our mission for you is pretty simple. We want to give you the ultimate shortcut, the practical, instantly usable framework for understanding not just what habits are, but how they're formed.
And how to break them.
And how to break them, how to improve them. This is basically the operating manual for your own behavior without having to rely on, willpower, which always seems to run out.
It always does. And look, if we had to boil the entire 5.5-hour audiobook down to just one sentence, it would be this. Success isn't about these massive, dramatic goals.
Right.
It's the product of tiny, repeatable actions that compound over time. It's really all about small habits leading to these huge, disproportionate results.
Okay, so before we really get into the system itself, we should probably touch on the source. This book is a giant in the self-improvement space.
Oh, absolutely. It's got something like a 4.8 out of 5 global rating. It's huge.
And for anyone listening who, absorbs information while they're doing other things, driving, at the gym, the audiobook is narrated by the author, James Clear himself.
And the reviews are so consistent on this point. His narration is calm, it's clear, it's perfectly paced. It doesn't feel like a lecture at all.
No.
It feels more like a personal coach, Just a low-pressure guide walking you through a system that works. It's perfect for someone who just wants to apply the ideas right away.
Let's start with the foundation then, the math behind this whole approach, the 1% rule. Society is always pushing us to find that 10x breakthrough, right? The overnight success. Clear just flips that whole idea on its head. He says just improving by 1% a day, that leads to explosive long-term success.
It sounds so simple. It almost seems, trivial. But when you actually run the numbers...
The numbers are crazy.
They're staggering. Oh. Getting 1% better every day for a year doesn't make you 365% better. Because of compounding, you're actually 37 times better than where you started.
37 times. And the flip side is kind of terrifying. If you get 1% worse every day...
You're trending towards 0 fast.
Right.
And this is so critical because it pushes back against our need for immediate results. We tend to dismiss these tiny changes because we don't see the reward right away.
We expect this, like straight line of progress.
Exactly. But real change means you have to push through what he calls the plateau of latent potential. That long, frustrating phase where you're making changes, but the results just aren't visible yet.
Okay. So we've established we don't need some massive breakthrough.
Right.
We accept that these tiny changes compound. So the next question is, what should we be changing? And this brings us to what I think is probably the most powerful psychological shift in the entire book. Identity-based habits.
This is it. This is the concept that gives you real leverage. Most of us, we focus on the outcome, the goal we want to hit.
But what?
What Clear says, we have to shift that focus to the identity,
right.
The type of person we want to become.
Let's make that really concrete for everyone listening.
Yeah.
An outcome focus is saying, I want to write a book, or, I want to lose 30 pounds.
Right. Those are external achievements, but the identity approach is internal. You start saying, I am a writer, or I am a healthy, active person.
So the goal isn't the reward anymore. The goal is just to prove your identity to yourself.
Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become.
I have to ask, though, because this sounds great in theory, but doesn't saying I am a healthy person still require the exact same amount of effort to, actually go to the gym?
That's a great practical question. And yes, initially it takes effort. But what the book suggests is that it reduces the cognitive friction.
The mental
battle, exactly. If you define yourself as a reader, turning on Netflix just feels Wrong. It's inconsistent. If you're a healthy person, skipping that 5-minute walk creates this internal conflict with who you believe you are.
So your habits stop being chores you have to do.
And they become actions that simply reinforce who you already are. It's a profound shift.
That makes everything else so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so once the identity piece is in place, we need to understand the engine that drives all our behaviors, the habit loop.
Right. And every single habit, good or bad, biting your nails, checking your phone, drinking water, it all follows the exact same 4-step neurological loop.
And if you understand the loop, you can intervene.
That's where you find the control points.
Okay, let's walk through it with a really common bad habit. Constantly checking your phone. Where does it start?
It always starts with the cue. That's the trigger. It might be a phone vibration or just seeing the phone on your desk. Sometimes it's internal, like a feeling of boredom.
And that cue triggers the second step, the craving.
Right. And you're not actually craving the phone. You're craving the change in state it provides, the relief from boredom, the little information hit. That's the motivation.
Then comes the response, the action. You pick up the phone, you unlock it, you start scrolling.
And finally, the reward. You get that little dopamine hit from a notification or just the distraction you were looking for. And this is the crucial part. That reward tells your brain, hey, that worked. Let's do that again next time.
And the loop is complete. The habit is cemented.
Exactly. So now that we see the anatomy of a habit, we can bring in the practical backbone of the book, the 4 laws of behavior change.
And these laws map directly onto those 4 steps we just talked about.
They do. They give us specific instructions for engineering better habits.
So if we want to build a good habit, we need to make the cue obvious, the craving attractive, the response easy, and the reward satisfying.
Perfect summary.
Let's start with Law 1. Make it obvious. This is about controlling the cue.
This is all about environment design. Pure and simple. Make the cues for your good habits totally inescapable, and make the cues for bad habits invisible.
So, if you want to remember to take your vitamins,
don't hide them in a cabinet. Put the bottle right next to your coffee maker. You can't miss it. If you want to watch less TV, hide the remote in another room. You're not relying on memory, you're relying on placement.
Okay, that makes sense. Moving on to the craving, Law 2 is make it attractive.
Right. Habits stick when we associate them with good feelings. So the strategy here is something called temptation bundling.
Which is?
You link an action you need to do with an action you really want to do. So, for example, you only allow yourself to listen to your favorite podcast while you're doing the dishes.
Ah, I see. You're using the guaranteed dopamine hit from the podcast to make a chore more attractive.
You're leveraging it. Exactly.
All right, Law 3 tackles the response itself. Make it easy. This is all about reducing friction.
Yes. If a new habit requires too much effort, we just won't do it. Our brains are wired for laziness, so this means starting incredibly small.
The 2-minute rule.
That's the one. Can you shrink your desired habit down into a version that takes less than 2 minutes? Not run 3 miles, but put on my running shoes.
Not meditate for 30 minutes, but sit silently for 1 minute.
Right. You're optimizing for the starting line. Once you start, it's so much easier to keep going.
Okay, and finally, Law 4, which closes the loop by controlling the reward. Make it satisfying.
This is so important because the rewards for good habits are often delayed. The reward for exercising is in the future. The reward for eating a donut is right now.
Instant gratification.
So we have to create an immediate artificial reward. The easiest way is a habit tracker. Just the act of checking off a box gives you a little hit of satisfaction. It proves you made progress.
It makes the win immediate and visual.
It makes it feel good now, which is what your brain needs to repeat the behavior.
So to tie a couple of those together, Law 1, make it obvious, and Law 3, make it easy, clear, gives us a really practical tool called habit stacking.
This is maybe the most effortless way to implement a new habit. You don't use motivation or alarms. You just anchor your new habit to an old one you already do automatically.
The formula is so simple, too. It's just, after current habit, I will new habit.
After I pour my morning coffee, I will do 10 push-ups. The cue, the coffee is already automatic. The task 10 push-ups is easy. All the friction is gone.
So when you look at the whole package, why does this material work so well for, a busy learner?
Well, the language is just so straightforward. The logic is science-based, but not academic. And he uses real stories, which makes the concepts really sticky.
And it's not just theory. I think that's key. Every chapter ends with these clear, actionable steps. It's less a philosophy book and more of an engineering manual for your own behavior.
Absolutely. The verdict from us is a solid 5 out of 5. It's universally applicable for anyone who wants to be more productive or, just upgrade their life.
Now, for a balanced view, we do have to mention some of the, let's call them minor caveats.
Of course, some people might find the core ideas a bit repetitive, but you have to remember that's intentional. Repetition is how we learn. It's how habits form.
Right. And for anyone looking for that magic bullet, that dramatic overnight change, this focus on 1% improvements could feel a little slow.
It might feel too simple, but the whole point is that the power is in the simplicity. It removes all the complexity that usually makes us fail.
And a final point, if you're looking for a deep dive into neurobiology, this isn't it.
No, he intentionally avoids getting bogged down in theory. The focus is 100% on what you can do right now. It's all about practical application.
Okay, so let's bring this all back to you, the listener. We've covered compounding tiny changes, the power of identity, and the mechanics of the habit loop and the 4 laws. The core takeaway is really clear. Success is less about chasing motivation and more about deliberately designing a better system for yourself. It's about your environment.
So the challenge we want to leave you with is to connect those dots. If success comes from engineering your environment, what is one small 1% change you can make in your physical surroundings today to better support the identity you are trying to build?
Make it inevitable.
Make it the path of least resistance.
And here's the final provocative thought to mull over. If we accept that changing your identity, shifting from doing to being, is the most powerful lever you can pull, does that mean true mastery of habits isn't even about consciously applying the 4 laws every day? Is true mastery actually the point where those laws become completely subconscious, requiring 0 effort because your actions are already in perfect alignment with who you see yourself to be?
Think about that. The compounding power of not just your actions, but your very self-perception. That's the end game.